right, in today's podcast, I sit with Desiree Dumont. You're going to be impressed by her resume of experience both professionally and her passion for Mexico. We met a little over a month ago at a real estate seminar here in Cabo San Lucas talking about wellness, and I dove deeper into her background and exposure to wellness. Take a listen. So you kind of do. So you collect houses.
Kind of. I like real estate assets.
Where do you own? Obviously Malibu. The last time we spoke, you were in Malibu. And
Malibu, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, land, and Aspen.
Aspen. And Aspen, which one have you owned the longest?
Playa del Carmen, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
How long?
I've been investing here in Mexico for 15 years.
15 years. And so first in Playa del Carmen, Tulum.
Tulum has been like investing for 10 years, and California for more than 20 something years. But I sold a property, I bought a new property, and so circling.
Well, we're recording. And so real estate is kind of a hobby. Obviously, there's business and money tied to it, but your experience in the professional world actually revolves around advertising.
Correct. And marketing. Yes.
So tell me about that. Tell our viewers your history. Where are you originally from? How did you get in the industry?
Sure. I'm originally from Chicago, and I moved to New York at a young age and started in advertising and learned the direct marketing, direct-to-consumer business, which today is digital media. And anytime you see a web address or a phone number, that's direct-to-consumer advertising. It's engaging and eliciting a response from the consumer and then creating a connection and managing their whole life cycle of communications to convert them to be a customer and to keep them a loyal customer. So everything with consumer marketing and touch points, that's my secret sauce, so to speak.
When did you get involved in the industry? Was it right out of university?
Right out of college. And I started before the infomercial world just started. So I started doing infomercials, and then I got all the drug companies into advertising. And now that became a $5 billion a year category. So all the drugs you see on TV started with me. And so.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. So Rogaine, every drug from GlaxoSmithKline, J&J, Shire, everything from toenail fungus to ADHD to ED, erectile dysfunction. So I did all those marketing campaigns and did the websites. My company built over 100,000 websites a year.
What was the name of that company, or what is the name of that company?
The last company was called Integrated Media Solutions, and I sold that in 2011 to a multinational holding company called MDC Partners. My first company, I sold at 30 to Interpublic Group, another multinational agency holding company that's global. So after doing it twice, I was done, and I decided to get more into Mexico and real estate and invest in this beautiful country.
Okay, we're definitely going to talk about Mexico and your real estate investments. I want to go back to the marketing because I love marketing. And you get a degree in marketing and advertising?
No, I didn't have a degree in marketing and advertising. My family, I have a heritage, actually. My great uncle invented the television, the picture tube, and they created the...
That's great. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not, I swear. You can look it up. Alan B. Dumont is my great uncle, and he invented the television, the picture tube, the cathode ray tube, and Dumont Television manufactured TV sets. And the Dumont network is now Fox. So John Kluge of Metro Media purchased the television network from my family. My great uncle started the television museum of Chicago called the Museum of Broadcasting. So I come from a lineage of inventors in media, and I was the black sheep. I got in the advertising side. So I was not really revered as like successful until I sold my first company.
No way. Okay. So when you first get out of the university, you are working for an ad marketing agency?
that just was doing infomercials and direct marketing when that was, way back when it was Guthrie Ranker and the big brands. And so I was, amassing inventory of to sell, and then had all these clients. And then at 23, I started my first company in advertising, and it took off really. I mean, it took time. It did really well. And IPG made me a crazy offer to buy my company. And so I sold at 30, and I stayed and built their company. And then I had an idea for an integrated media solution, which combined digital and television and print and managed media like a stock portfolio. So instead of television, internet being separate silos, it was seeing the collaborative effect of media being stacked together. So it's 1 + 1 was 3 or 4, not just 2.
So you sell your first company at 30, you stay on, you see another opportunity in the marketplace, and you leave without a non-compete agreement?
I had a non-compete, but there was a little clause in there about this digital company I started on the side, and I was in my contract, I could do it. And I had a loophole that I was able to do it. So I couldn't take any clients, and nor is that the right thing to do. So I started from scratch a second company, and all performance-based media. And performance media is now the backbone of all digital media, but now people talk the game. We actually did it. And I had like 250 people working for me and $500 million in billing and 2 offices. So I didn't have much of a life.
Jeez, that's incredible. And so you're working with top companies around the world.
Yes, I was on the board of Google, the search engine marketing council. So I would attend meetings in, San Francisco, the headquarters, and deal with the engineers as to how to monetize what they were like. Google Glasses, when it first started, like, how do we make money with this thing? And so I would get my clients, whether it be Bosley Medical or a drug company, to sponsor some level of the new technology and find a way to monetize it. So monetizing and seeing the opportunity was something I focused my career on, is seeing where the white space was. And that's what I used in this new project.
So you sell the second company after how many years?
It was the second company. I think it was like 7 or 8 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Every time it's like 5 or 7 years in, they're knocking on my door to buy the company. And the same people who bought my first one were trying to buy my second one, but I wanted a different situation.
So you're not even 40 or right around 40 years old. You sell your second company.
Yeah.
You're financially free. You have more than enough money, but you don't stop there. You actually start migrating south of the border at that point.
Totally. So I definitely didn't want to do a third company, a three-peat. I didn't want to be Michael Jordan and do a three. I was like, I've done it twice. It's time to retire. And plus I have 3 children. So the balance between work life and being on a plane 3 days a week was not good for my health. And that's where I saw I was really burned out, and I got into what wasn't called biohacking then, but that's how I got into wellness, was really from a place of being worn out, having no energy. And I got into wellness. I learned some of wellness real estate techniques in around 2015 from Delos. My ex-husband actually worked with Delos in building luxury wellness real estate projects in LA. So I learned a little of their basic techniques from them, and really got into more biohacking. So the biohacking concept, which led me to this new hotel that I'm building, but I was crazy for Mexico.
And you've been owning in Mexico for several years. Tell everyone about Tulum, and eventually we're going to get to how you and I connected just recently.
That's for sure. So my background in Mexico of investing, is that what you'd like?
Yeah. And Tulum specifically.
Sure. So I started investing in Tulum in 2014 in a hotel called Sonara, and during my retirement, by the way. And I walked up there, was a pile of dirt, opened the ground. I'm like, this looks kind of cool. What are you building? And I was in a bikini. They're like, well, who are you? I'm like, I would love to invest and look at it. So I started digging into the project, and I invested in it. And that's where I started to learn hospitality in 2014. And Tulum just took off from 2014 all the way till now. And I bought my first hotel in 2018. down the street from my first investment. And I was like, I'm going to try this because I got bored of being retired and I knew it was time to build something different. So as an American investor coming to Mexico, there's a lot of, hesitations and concerns and country risks, all those kind of things that everyone tells you, watch out of Mexico. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to learn as much as I can and dig in. And actually, as American businesswoman operating in Mexico, I used my same American business ways of really investigating every angle of it before I jumped in. And I learned the security and safety in Mexico. It took time, but I built a whole team of tax advisors and legal experts and hospitality experts all around me. But I learned how to really create wealth here in this country and protect it.
And so now you're on your third project in Tulum. Can you talk about that? I know when we talked last, you were showing me the presentation and it's still in the conceptual. You haven't broken ground yet, right?
We broke ground with all the soil studies and because we have cenotes under our property. So we had to do the soil studies 3 rounds because of the cenote. So now we've kind of broken ground, but we're going to start in June. So basically, my first hotel that I invested in is Sonara. And then my own investment, my own hotel is called Alumina. And basically we have 2 lots and we've done all the architecture, all the soil studies. We secured the bank loan. We're 80% funded. I'm in the final stretch of raising the last $3 million to start construction. I want to make sure that we don't start and stop because you know how that can be, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it ends up costing more money and you risk just all the economic factors and political factors, changing of governments, things like that you have to be mindful, not just in the States, but even more so in a foreign country like Mexico.
Totally. So we're right now shovel ready and we're securing the last investor in the project on an equity basis and bringing them into the company and running it like with American practices and making sure everything's very buttoned up because I've sold 2 companies to publicly traded entities. So I understand reporting to Wall Street. So I look at Mexico like another version of what I've done before. And very few developers in Mexico take that detailed the way I've gone because I've applied what I've done in the US to Mexico. And everything's possible in this country. It's just a matter of you have to work super hard, just like the US.
And I don't think we touched on it, but this new hotel is going to be wellness.
Yes. The whole soul of the hotel is immersive wellness. What that means is from the moment you step onto the property, you're going to feel something different and you won't know what it is, but it's into the ground itself. There's actual pylons going down, hitting certain point to discharge the geopathic stress. So when you sleep in a bed on the property, you're going to sleep really deep and you won't know why. That's part of the immersive wellness. The wellness continues in the walls, in the architectures, in the lighting, in the EMF blocking, in the showers, in the water. So if you don't go to the wellness center, you're still going to heal and look better and you won't know why. But if you do decide to go down the wellness journey with us, you're going to enjoy a very strong immersive experience that's far beyond what you'd find in Europe.
Why do you think that's important when we consider hotels and tourism? What that whole concept of wellness?
I think that people deserve environments that heal the body. I mean, there's so much degenerative building or destructive building that's taking from the earth, and that does hurt the body with toxic, building materials and frying your body with things we don't even know that aren't good for us. So I think people deserve it, and they should be in a place that protects the body from all these invisible stressors and actually recovers the body. I mean, sleep is one of the number 1 issues for all consumers in the world. And part of that is just the environment we live in. The built environment is not necessarily healthy for us in all ways. And we can't put our finger on it. And in some cases, there's lots of people who have got mold toxicities and environmental hazards, and they can't figure out why they have this gut issue or this issue with their breathing. And I get phone calls like you wouldn't believe. And a lot of times it's the molds or the cleaning supplies used in the building or the sheets are washed. And so there's so many factors that we want to remove all that so the body can really rest and recover and restore. So when you go home, hopefully you take some of these practices with you and continue it to optimize your health.
Is this a movement in the industry, wellness? And if so, how big of a movement is this?
So right now, it's the wellness real estate economy is roughly $300 billion going to, actually 300 billion going to 900 billion in the next 5 years. It's growing at a 20% CAGR, compound annual growth rate a year. It's one of the fastest growing segments within the wellness economy. So wellness real estate is here to stay and here to grow. And as consumers wake up to all the ways they could be improving their body, and as millennials start to being the lion's share of the bookings in hotels and the purchasers of real estate, those audiences are more familiar with the importance of wellness and more committed to it. So I think it's very much here to stay and will only grow at a higher rate than 20%.
So if I'm a developer, if I'm a real estate investor, what should I be doing? What should I be looking for in terms of opportunities?
I think you should look to partner with the right people who really understand wellness real estate and wellness building practices, and because sustainability, if you look at like a quad screen, there's degenerative building, and regenerative building, and the middle is sustainability. Sustainability is just neutral.
Yeah.
It's what you should be doing. And regenerative is really the future. So I just spoke at a conference this last week called Regen Week, all about regenerative living, communities, and building on a regenerative level, restoring power, water, light, all the ways you can do this. So if I was a builder, I'd be looking at all these practices as like a starting point. I would be starting with sustainability and going to regenerative.
Okay.
I think there's tons of communities in the world right now, regenerative, that are booming in Costa Rica and in remote places. But, some of them are little hippy dippy communities. And I think the people that are really smart and get their hands around this will create something more of a luxurious experience that's for a larger community.
We were just last week at a conference speaking, and actually a month or so ago, that's how we met here in Los Cabos.
Yes, exactly.
Remind me, was that your first time to Cabo? I think it was, wasn't it?
No. I used to go for vacation all the time.
Okay.
I love Cabo. I mean, Las Ventanas, the old Twin Dolphin when it was the hippy dippy resort.
Yeah.
I love what's going on in your region.
And you were weren't we talking about you maybe wanting to do some business in our area too?
Yes, I love Todos Santos.
What does Todos Santos mean to you? Why is it attractive to you?
Because I think, for me, I look at your region as very parallel to Cancun. I mean, Cancun is has, let's say, 10 times the tourism of Cabo San Lucas, at least 10, if not more. And the growth in this region has been in those places that are an hour and a half away or an hour away, which is Tulum. And I see Todos Santos as a parallel to Tulum. And the projects and developers are being recruited from Tulum to build our own little community in Todos Santos. So I see it as a great opportunity to kind of mimic the vibe or grow the vibe there. And a lot of developers in our region are looking at that area. It's also very special. It's connected to nature. I mean, all those high rises in Cabo are beautiful and gorgeous, but it's overwhelming and it's not connected to nature. And people want to escape, the big city experiences and connect with nature. I think Todos Santos has an opportunity for that. I'm sure Loreto too. I've been following what you've been doing in Loreto, and I think it's another huge. And La Paz, I think, has a huge opportunity as well.
Have you been looking at other parts of Mexico? I mean, Tulum, Playa, the Baja. What other parts interest you?
Well, our project Alumina is going to start in Tulum, and we've already identified 5 stops on the development journey. And the 5 stops include Todos Santos, Puerto Escondido, Chiapas, and I would think Bakalar and Hobash in this region. So very special places that are connected to nature that are going to grow at exponential rates according to all the studies we've seen. So I think Puerto Escondido is a huge opportunity in the next 5 years, as is Todos Santos.
I just came back from Chiapas.
Beautiful.
I was amazed. We only spent a week and a half, and we could have spent a full month just traveling around.
Everyone says that you can't just go for a week. So, and the waterfalls and the monkeys and the forest, it's pristine. Also, Chihuahua is like the Grand Canyon times 2 of Mexico. So Americans love the Grand Canyon, but what if you can double the size of it and have like the cost of Mexico and development of Mexico is much easier than the US.
How much time do you spend in Mexico in a year? What percentage of your
between 40 and around 40 to 50%. And once the hotel opens, it's going to be higher.
Do you think that the real estate development and resort investing building is the future for you professionally?
Correct. Yes, I do. I see a huge opportunity of development, and I see that Mexico, according to all the calculations, they're anticipating a 5x growth in tourism in this region of Cancun over the next five years. I mean, and they've grown. They're way beyond 2019 rates pre-COVID. And as a country, we have a fabulous labor pool. The cost of labor is a fraction of the US. We don't have the litigation issues like you do in the US. And it's a very friendly business environment for investors. So as an investor, I put a lot more in Mexico.
So you're not scared. Like, I'm sure friends and family might be like, what the hell are you doing in Mexico?
They think I'm crazy. They don't trust Mexico, all the propaganda we have in the US, which I see it all. There's a lot of propaganda, and that's okay. There's a lot of fake news, as we know, in the media. But I've lived here for 15 years. I've never had any issues or any, cartel situation ever. They've never tried to come to my hotel or take my property or abduct my children. So there are parts that are dangerous. I do believe that. But right now, I think the more dangerous country is the US. I mean, look what's happening in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco. I mean, we are just Seattle. It's a crime to see the decline in our culture and humanity, and people want to always tear down Mexico. I think it's a fabulous investment.
Well, and all the natural beauty, all the natural resources, the weather, the diversity. When I thought of Mexico before moving here, I likened it to this channel that we watched on regular TV. It was Telemundo, right? And so I would watch these like telenovelas. I wouldn't watch them. I would just pass through and watch it, or these game shows, and like very passionate people, a lot of like screaming, and that's the excitement in Mexico, is all the passion.
Totally. And the culture is, I mean, there's a very, very good culture in terms of like religious people. They work, they're honest. You won't see Mexicans taking a lot of drugs. I mean, unfortunately, as running a hotel, you see what happens with the guests that come to Mexico. And a lot of Americans come here and they consume a lot of drugs. And that's part of the problem, is they're creating a demand that feeds this supply chain. So if there was less demand, we wouldn't have the issue, but the issue is everywhere. It's in this city, it's in Miami, it's in Chicago, it's in New York, it's everywhere. So the key is to not consume.
Yeah, well, we're getting a little off topic. I think that, the way we connected a month ago at that real estate seminar, talking about wellness, and your involvement in wellness and my involvement in wellness. We have a mutual friend, Alfredo Carvajal, and great guy. And I look forward to collaborating, staying in contact. And for our viewers, our audience, a lot of them know Tulum, Playa del Carmen, certainly know Cabo San Lucas and the Baja. But being able to connect with you, like-minded people, entrepreneurs, professionals, and people that are passionate about Mexico, I think, like you said, this is a trend that's not going to slow down anytime soon.
No. Look at the Mayan Train. If anyone studies, look at what's happening with the Istmo. There's an isthmus opening in Oaxaca that's going to compete with the Panama Canal. Look at all the nearshoring, several $1 billion across the border in nearshoring jobs and creation and facilities. I mean, this country is booming. Look at the peso versus the dollar. It was a 20% drop in the last year. So the peso's doing great, and it's a very stable economy. Tourism is a big part of it, and real estate. So it's a very safe investment.
Well, Desiree, I look forward to seeing you more in the Cabo area, and I have to visit your resort while it's in construction, and certainly being a guest.
Yes, I would love that. You'd be my guest.
All right. Yes. Well, thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. And let's stay connected.
You got it. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Another successful podcast with Desiree Dumont. How impressive that her family invented the TV. That's so incredible. And that how she sold 2 successful advertising and marketing agency, and her passion for Mexico. Take a listen to the next podcast that should be coming up here shortly, introducing you to exciting people that are excited about Mexico, excited about real estate. And until the next one, bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronaval Real Estate, and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronaval. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronaval.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.